I'm the son of Harrison and Beth Blind. My sister Mary Beth is 2.5 years older than me. I was born in Coleman Hospital in Indianapolis at the IUPUI campus, December 26, 1953. I grew up in Speedway, which is a small town on the west side of Indianapolis. It's famous for where the Indy 500 mile track is. In fact, I grew up less than a mile from the track, and one of my earliest memories was my parents parked cars in our yard for people going to the race because we were in walking distance of the track. And so I always had fun playing in the different cars. The great thing about growing up in a little town like Speedway was they had per capita the more police than most towns in the U.S. So it was a very safe place to grow up. We never locked our doors. All the neighbors, I was afraid of getting spanked by any one of my neighbors just as much as I would of my dad. So if you were caught doing anything, the neighbors would tell on you, if not discipline you themselves. I rode my bicycle everywhere. I mean, I'd drive 10 miles away on my bicycle to go to a shopping center or something if I wanted to. I lived near a gravel pit, and we used to go over there and play army and ride our bicycles and make homemade bombs and blow stuff up. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of freedom. Both my parents worked, so they just trusted that I wouldn't get in trouble. And I didn't. I was a pretty good kid until I got to be a teenager, and then I was just lucky that I didn't get caught. I've seen a lot of changes in society, in my life, and one of the biggest ones I think you draw a contrast to is when I was my first year in college. So this would have been I was 19, going to IUPUI. I was going for an engineering degree initially. Well, I was in a speech class, and I had to give a demonstration speech. And so my demonstration speech was how to assemble a Colt 45 pistol. And I asked the teacher, I said, can I bring this pistol in and show you how to, my demonstration speech is literally assembling a gun. She goes, oh, yeah, no problem. And so I actually brought 2 guns to school that day. One I had set up on a stand showing the completed assembly, and then the other one I had in a bag, and I had all the parts in front of me, and I literally demonstrated in my speech how to assemble it. So at the end of it, I had 2 guns assembled. And I also had ammunition because I demonstrated how exactly the Colt 45 operated. And you think about that today, that would never happen in a school today. But I did, other than asking the teacher, I didn't get any special permission from the school or anybody else. I just asked the teacher. She said, sure, go ahead. And that was it. So, I think back on that, and it just shows you how times have changed. Okay, after high school and my very brief college career, I had no real ambition as what to do, so I decided to join the Marine Corps. I thought if I joined the Marines and learned, I liked working on cars and stuff, I thought I could become an aircraft mechanic. But that would suit me well. After the Marine Corps, I could get a job anywhere with the airlines. So in 1972, still during Vietnam, but the draft was still continuing and the war was still continuing, I went ahead and joined the Marine Corps. And I joined, and then the draft came out, and my draft number was 351 that year. The draft was interesting because they had 2 fish bowls. One had every birthday from January 1 to December 31 in there, and then on the other bowl had just numbers from 1 to 365. And they would draw a birth date out and draw a number out and attach it. So whatever number you had attached to your birth date was your draft number. And since mine was 351, they were only drafting guys up to about 125. So if you had a draft number between 1 and 125, you were probably going to get drafted. During the Cold War in the 60s and 70s, having nuclear weapons was a deterrent. Okay. In fact, In the United States, so we had what they called the triad. They had nukes that could be launched from ground-based missiles. They had nukes that could be launched from submarines, and then they had nukes that could be dropped from planes. And what it boiled down to was nobody would fire nukes at somebody else because we had what we called mutually assured destruction. Because you couldn't stop all three of those areas from launching or dropping their missiles, right? So if somebody started a nuclear war, that was unthinkable because you would just get destroyed too. There was no first strike, and there was only a few countries that had nukes back then. But, the two biggest kids on the block, sooner or later they might fight, and that was the idea, was to make nuclear weapons so unthinkable to use because you would just bring destruction upon yourself. So that was the catchphrase, mutually assured destruction.